Not all spirit guides are here for your highest good. Let me explain. Now, I have videos explaining what spirit guides, guardian angels, what's the difference. Spirit guides tend to come from your genetic lineage, your ancestral line. That's why I usually don't recommend people calling upon their ancestral line spirit guides, because a lot of them have unfinished karma or unfinished karmic loops that they kept repeating in their lifetime. Like they just couldn't get the lesson. Guess what? Your DNA is your template to your archetype as a person. And your ancestors, their traumas, their story runs through your DNA. Your DNA is literally the coding that is everything that you are and everything that came before you. So this is why when you use ancestor spirit guides to help you, they may not actually be doing things for your highest good, because they themselves have so much unhealed trauma. So when they think that they're helping you, they're actually just trying to help themselves release their own karmic loop. And sometimes that could go against your soul blueprint, what you're supposed to do in this lifetime. Because what if in this lifetime you came down to do humanitarian work, but you have one ancestral spirit guide that's around you all the time, feeding you ideas of, instead of doing humanitarian work, they think your highest good is to achieve mass amounts of wealth because they didn't get to do that in their lifetime. Here's a personal story of how I figured this to be true. Now, this is just my truth. You can have your own theory. Half a year ago, I was in a relationship with a narcissistic sociopath. I've talked about him in a lot of my videos because seriously, it was traumatizing. The first time I ever met him and I locked eyes with him, I was like, I know you from somewhere. You are so familiar. And I had an inkling that maybe we had a past life together. We did. When I was hanging out with him one time, I just had a sudden flash of our past life together. I was like this medieval Renaissance era, like royalty, maybe princess. I was married to some kind of lord, and he was a Templar knight. And if you know, your past life is actually your ancestors. So I was just accessing my ancestors' memory of him, who he was in his past life. And in that past life, my ancestor, she was totally in love with him, but he was a bad person. If you're not familiar with the Templar Wars are, if you're spiritual, it's basically Stargate Wars. It had nothing to do with religion. It had everything to do with control. Anyway, he was a Templar. He was not a good person, but she was infatuated with him and she was in love with him. But because she was married to the lord of the castle or the land, she had no way to actually be with him. And she suffered a lot of heartbreak in that lifetime because he also died early due to political betrayal or something like that. So that's why in this current incarnation, when I met him, I was like, you are so familiar, because I remembered his ancestors, who he was in his past life. Unfortunately, in this lifetime, he's also a really bad person. Guess that hasn't changed in his ancestral line. That's why it was so hard for me to break this karmic loop with him, because I just kept feeling so pulled towards him, even though I knew he was such a bad person and so bad for me. And again, how did I finally figure this out? Well, just yesterday night, I had a very vivid lucid dream in which I was speaking to that ancestor, the medieval Spain princess ancestor that I have. Basically, long story short, she revealed to me that because in our ancestral line, she still has so much trauma from that lifetime of being so obsessed with him that unfortunately because I'm psychic, I'm very sensitive to energy, I kind of had been like pulled into that, almost unwillingly. But she was thanking me in that dream for finally breaking that loop, and she could be set free. Her consciousness could be set free. That fragment of my own soul's blueprint could be set free. So yeah, just because your spirit guide tells you to do something, but you intuitively know that this is not good for you, don't always listen to your spirit guides, because they could be from your ancestral line and they maybe have trauma that they haven't resolved yet. If you want the most pure guidance, always ask your higher self, because your higher self is actually God itself. We are all fragments of God. At the highest level, we all come from source. That's why I always recommend people call upon their higher self.